We've all heard it. How ancient civilizations built the pyramids, how stone tools shaped human history, how everything we know about the past fits neatly into textbooks. But here's a question no one really asks. Do we even understand what's already been found? Because scattered across this planet are objects that don't fit the story. Metal cubes locked in coal millions of years old. Microscopic coils buried in sediment before humans existed. Artifacts made from materials that weren't discovered until the 1800s, yet found alongside Ice Age bones. These aren't just internet myths. There are photographs, accounts, and disputed reports, enough to keep the mystery alive. These are 6 discoveries that challenge everything we think we know. And no, this isn't fiction. What you're about to see has been documented. In 1885, a foundry worker in Wolfsegg, Austria, was breaking apart coal when something metallic fell out and hit the floor. It was a cube, smooth edges, about the size of a fist. The coal was reported to be dated to roughly 20 million years old. When researchers examined it, they described it as cast iron with traces of nickel. It's unusual to see this kind of nickel mix in something found this way. No visible seams, no tool marks, just a metal cube sealed inside prehistoric coal from an era when the only land animals were early mammals. And here's the part that doesn't fit. It's like finding a machined bolt in a layer of sediment that predates tool-making by millions of years. The cube was displayed in a museum in Austria for decades. Then, sometime in the late 20th century, it was removed from public display. Where it ended up remains a matter of debate among researchers who've tried to track it down. So who made it? How did it get sealed inside coal that formed long before humans existed? And if this one survived, what else is buried in rock we haven't cracked open yet? In 1961, 3 rockhounds hunting for geodes in California's Coso Mountains cracked open what looked like an ordinary stone. Inside was metal, a shaft, ceramic casing, copper coil, hexagonal components. X-rays reportedly showed internal structure resembling a spark plug. Threads, insulation, a central electrode. Threads like this usually imply precision manufacturing. The rock encasing it was often cited as being around 500,000 years old, though the dating methods used at the time were less precise than modern techniques. But here's the problem. Spark plugs didn't exist until the early 1900s. It's like finding a USB drive in a Bronze Age tomb. Photographs were taken. Geologists looked at it. After the initial examination, the artifact's whereabouts became difficult to verify. Some say it was likely a modern spark plug that got surrounded by fast-hardening sediment, a process that can happen in decades rather than millennia. It's plausible. But the original finders insisted the rock was solid when they found it, and the dating remained disputed. So what was it? How old was the encasing material really? And where is it now? In the early 1990s, geological teams drilling in Russia's Ural Mountains began finding strange objects in the sediment. Tiny spirals, thousands of them, microscopic, some measuring 1/10,000th of an inch. Reported to be made of tungsten and molybdenum, metals used in aerospace manufacturing. Under magnification, the coils showed what researchers described as uniform structure. Consistent turns, even spacing. The kind of precision that would require controlled fabrication techniques. The sediment layers were often cited as being between 20,000 and 100,000 years old, long before metallurgy. And here's what makes no sense. Tungsten wasn't isolated until 1783. Molybdenum came later. Nanotechnology didn't exist until the late 20th century. It's like finding a circuit board in a Neolithic settlement. Russian scientists filed reports. Samples were archived. International coverage of the findings remained limited, and few follow-up studies appeared in major journals. Skeptics suggest the spirals could be drilling contamination, fragments from modern equipment mixed into samples during extraction. It's possible, though, the sheer number found across independent sites makes accidental contamination harder to explain. So what shaped them? Are they natural formations we don't understand yet? And if they're artificial, who made them before humans even had fire? In 1973, workers digging along Romania's Mureș River unearthed mastodon bones roughly 11,000 years old. Buried with them was something that didn't belong, a metallic wedge, aluminum, about 8 inches long, clean cuts, drilled holes, surface markings that suggested machining. The wedge had a thick oxide layer, the kind that forms after long exposure to air. Tests indicated the material was aluminum, a metal that doesn't exist in pure form in nature. Extracting it requires electrolysis, a process first developed in 1825. But here's the catch. This wedge was buried alongside Ice Age remains, thousands of years before the chemistry to produce aluminum existed. It's like finding a titanium bolt in a Viking grave. One end had a hole drilled through it, as if it had been attached to something. The other end was shaped deliberately, like a component designed to fit into a larger assembly. Some argue it's farm equipment that sank into older sediment. Others suggest aircraft debris. But according to early tests, the oxide layer's thickness doesn't align well with those explanations, and no widely cited crash record is usually mentioned in summaries of the case. So how did machined aluminum end up buried with mastodon bones? What was it part of? And where's the rest of whatever it belonged to? Miners in Klerksdorp, South Africa, have been pulling strange spheres out of ancient mineral deposits for decades. The rock they come from is reported to be roughly 2.8 billion years old. The spheres are made of pyrophyllite, a soft metamorphic stone. Surface is smooth, almost polished. Around the equator of each one are 3 parallel grooves, evenly spaced, too precise to look accidental. They range in size, some small as marbles, others the size of baseballs. Solid, dense, uniform in structure. And here's what museum staff have claimed over the years. Some spheres appear to rotate slowly inside sealed display cases. No vibration, no external movement. Just subtle turning that's been observed and noted in internal records. Skeptics argue that small temperature shifts or vibrations too subtle to feel could explain the rotation. It's reasonable. Natural concretions can form in mineral-rich environments, though they don't typically produce perfect parallel grooves. It's like finding a machined bearing in rock that predates complex life on Earth. So what shaped them? Why are the grooves so consistent? And if they're natural, why does no other geological formation look like this? In the deserts of western China, near the edge of an old, dried-up salt lake, there's a strange mountain that has puzzled researchers for years. Sticking out of the rocky surface are metal pipes. Not scattered debris, actual pipes. Some embedded deep inside solid rock. Others extending down into the lakebed, as if connected to something buried far below. When these pipes were tested, the results were described as surprising. They were often cited as being over 150,000 years old, long before humans had cities, tools, or even farming. But here's the problem. Some sections appear unusually regular. A few are connected by what look like T-shaped joints. Others form patterns that resemble a branching network. The material is strange too, reportedly a mix of metals that don't typically form together in nature. Skeptics argue the sediment layers may have shifted over time, making age estimates unreliable. Others suggest the pipes could be fossilized tree roots that absorbed metal minerals, though roots don't usually form such uniform cylindrical shapes. It's like finding industrial piping in a landscape that predates civilization itself. So who built them? What were they for? And if they're natural, why do they look so deliberately constructed? These objects exist. They've been measured, documented, and examined by people who disagreed on what they were. What they represent remains unclear. Lost technology? Natural processes we don't yet understand? Or something that forces us to rethink the timeline entirely? The artifacts are out there. The questions keep growing, and the answers remain just beyond reach. Which object should we investigate next? Leave it in the comments, and if you want more videos like this, a like and a subscription help a lot.